Janelle with a little stitches video, and today we are going to make a patchwork quilt house. So in your kit you will have thread and a needle, embroidery floss, several squares of fabric and one piece of white fabric, and a template for a house. What we're going to do is we're going to learn some basic stitches to connect all of our squares together. Then we're going to use our template to cut out a house shape in our fabric and our white fabric. Then we are going to sew the two together, and we're going to use our embroidery floss to create a fun stitch on the outside of the house. All right, so the first thing we need to do is to connect all of our squares together. So what you'll need is your needle with the white thread on it. Additionally, you will need a pair of scissors for this, so make sure you have those on hand. So you can see that I have connected these 6 squares together using a really basic running stitch, which means it looks like the lines on the road. This is the back, and that's where we're going to connect it because we want the front to look like they just fit together by themselves. So I've laid out my fabric like this, and this is the back. So we're going to kind of connect it together like that. So we might need help from a parent or guardian, but we're going to put our thread on our needle here in this little eye hole. And then you're going to tie a knot in the end of it, like so. You may have to do it a couple times. If the knot's not big enough, it'll go through the fabric instead of stopping. We want it to stop. So I'm going to connect these 3 together and then connect them to this. So you take them, good sides face each other, or what you want to be on the front, and you want to make sure to line them up nicely. There we go. And then we're going to start underneath. And you want to go as close to the edge as possible without going over. And then we're going to go over. Like that. So you just keep doing that over, under, over, under, over, under. When you get to the end, you're going to kind of make a little loop. Like that. And you're going to pass the needle through because you're going to finish this off by cutting it and tying it one more time. Okay, so I've tied my knot. Give it a little trim. All right, now we're going to connect to the next one. And always make sure that you're double checking where everything needs to go. So we're going to fold this in on itself. And sew these together. Good side facing good side. So we have our patchwork quilt ready. So what we're going to do is we already cut out our white house back, and we want to make sure that we're matching it to how big the squares are. So you can see that we're going to have to size it down a little bit. So I'm going to trim just a little off here. All right. Now, there's a couple ways you can do this. You can cut the quilt to match the sides of the house here. So we would trim, 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 trim. The other way you can do it is to take an iron and fold under and match it like so. That's a little bit more complicated and would definitely need assistance from your parent or guardian. So instead, we are going to trim our house. So you can use a pencil, draw around the edges, and we're going to match up the house parts, like so. As you can see, everything's matched up perfectly. So what we're going to do is we're going to go around these edges and do our running stitch, but we're going to leave this edge open because we're going to flip it inside out. So you want to make sure that you have the good side facing inward, because when we sew it, we're going to flip it inside out and then that will become facing out. So sew all the way around the edges of your house, leaving the bottom open. Alright, so we've sewn both sides together. So now what we're going to do is we're going to flip it inside out. And you'll have to use your hands to kind of move the shapes in place. Okay, so we have our house here. And to finish the bottom, you just flip the insides in here. You can use an iron. And you're just going to stitch across the bottom so that it's flat like that. Now if you see any of your stitches pop like this one popped out, that's fine. You can go back in there and repair it. Just tie your needle off again. Just go in and fix the hole. So the other thing that you can do with your house, if you want to leave it like that, you can. Or you can take the embroidery floss and you can create some fun stitch patterns, like maybe some windows or a door or some grass. Maybe put some stitches into the chimney or the roof. To do that, you will have to separate your embroidery floss. So you simply find the end. I'll just get here. And you're going to untwist it like that and separate each strand. One piece if you want. And you can do over/under stitches just like we did sewing this together. Another thing you can do is if you have buttons or other scraps of fabric, you can sew those on top as well. I have some fun polka dots here, so I could make myself a little door at the bottom, like that. Or a fun long window. Whatever you want to do to add to it. Another thing that you could do is maybe make some grass. So all you would do is cut some fabric and cut some fringe into it like that. So it's like pieces of grass, and you can sew that onto the bottom going across, and you can have some grass across the bottom of your house. If you want to make it more like a quilt, you can put some batting in there, which is basically stuffing that you would use for the interior of a quilt or a stuffed animal. And that is a patchwork quilt house. Again, you can add anything you want to it, make it your own. If you want to do less squares, smaller squares, bigger squares, whatever you want to do, make it your very own house. I hope you had so much fun with me today for Little Stitches, and we will see you next month with a brand new fun video. We have some really exciting videos coming up. We're going to do some tie-dyeing and some other kind of fabric dyes with pens and markers. So keep an eye out for that video. And don't forget to come into the library, and I will see you guys very, very soon.